Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about HYBE's upcoming new girl group Lesserafim and talk about some of my predictions that I have for them. There's so much hype and anticipation for this group because it's the first girl group that's debuting under this company since Glam all the way back in 2012, and more notably the fact that former I-ONE members Sakura and Chaewon are debuting in this group. I actually asked a lot of my subscribers in my Discord server to give me their own Lesserafim predictions, because while I do have a lot of my own predictions, my subscribers were able to bring up a lot of interesting points that I hadn't considered before. So in addition to my own predictions and thoughts, I'm going to be reading out some from my subscribers and giving my own commentary on those. So if you ever want the chance to have one of your ideas featured in one of my videos like this, make sure to join my Discord server where the link is in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and without further ado, let's get into the first prediction. Due to it coming from HYBE, I expect it to be full of autotune, and they might be sonically similar to TXT and may receive some hyphen draft songs. With this one, I definitely understand where OP is coming from. In the past few years, HYBE has definitely been doing this sort of trend where they push autotune onto the voices of their idols a lot, and that can be heard in releases such as ENHYPEN's Drunk Dazed, TXT's Blue Hour, or BTS's Butter. However, I actually don't think that autotune is going to be a recurring theme when it comes to Lesserafim's music. To be a little bit more specific, Lesserafim is debuting under a subsidiary of HYBE, Source Music, which used to manage GFRIEND, and when HYBE acquired Source Music, GFRIEND's releases under HYBE didn't have much autotune at all. While I'm sure there were a lot of vocal effects used within GFRIEND's songs under HYBE, they never took the route where they used autotune to the point where the girls' voices sounded robotic, similarly to BTS, TXT, or ENHYPEN. I think a lot of people get confused because HYBE definitely pushes certain sounds and genres onto the groups managed by their subsidiaries. For example, in 2020, almost every single HYBE group did retro. But while HYBE does push genre trends onto their subsidiaries, they don't do the same thing with musical production trends. Besides B-Lift with ENHYPEN, none of the other subsidiaries under HYBE have used the same sort of autotune that is popular in the newer releases from BTS and TXT. There may be some vocal effects used, but you can listen to 17's Ready to Love, GFRIEND's Mago, or Inside Out by New East, and all of the vocals still sound very full and natural. So I definitely think that Lesserafim might follow some of the genre trends that HYBE likes, but I definitely don't think that we're going to see a lot of autotune. But as far as I'm aware, besides ENHYPEN, this is the first group debuting under a HYBE subsidiary, so we might see a lot more of HYBE's influence within the music, so I could be wrong. Personally though, I'm actually not against this. There is very heavy autotune in a lot of my favorite songs by both ENHYPEN and TXT. I don't really mind the presence of autotune, and I actually think it enhances a lot of the songs that it's used in under HYBE, but my overall prediction is that we probably won't see autotune in Lesserafim's debut. Hey everyone, just to let you all know, the things that I said in this next section I said before the Sakura teasers came out yesterday, and after this next section I'm going to give you an updated version on my thoughts on what Lesserafim's concept is going to be. Also, I'm going to be referencing a tank, but I actually saw the pictures that I'm going to be talking about and I realized that it's actually a race car, so just keep that in mind whenever I talk about this quote-unquote tank. And those are all the disclaimers that I have, so without further ado, let's get into this next section. Sorry for keeping you all waiting. They're gonna debut with the girl crush concept. So I've actually never seen the picture or the clip, I'm not sure what it is, but there's a visual of Sakura apparently standing on like a tank thing for a music video, and apparently because of that, people are assuming that Lesserafim is gonna debut with the girl crush concept. And while I do somewhat agree with this, I'm actually gonna narrow down my prediction and say that they're gonna debut with a pop punk concept. I think with HYBE sort of pioneering of this concept with TXT's releases in 2021, as well as ENHYPEN's Blessed Cursed and 17's Rock With You, coupled with the fact that this trend really took off, charting really well in Korea. Not only K-pop acts, but also Western acts. There's that artist Gayle and her song the alphabet song, you know what I'm talking about, which are quite literally dominating the charts. G-idle's Tomboy has like 130 perfect all kills at this point, and since girl crush isn't really the most popular thing right now, I think the only reasonable explanation as to why there's a leak with Sakura standing on a tank is that they're gonna go the pop punk route. No other concept that I can think of would match that leak, and since in the past with retro, HYBE has had a tendency to follow trends instead of starting their own, even though this trend was sort of started by them, I'm not trying to discredit that. This is the most likely outcome for me. I honestly would have preferred Lesserafim to debut with some sort of brighter concept. I think a teen crush image, something similar to ITZY or Meki would fit these girls really well, or honestly they could just return to that sort of mystical I-ONE sound that they had, and I wouldn't be too mad at that either. I just don't really understand how Sakura specifically is gonna adapt to a pop punk trend. If this does happen, I think she might look a little bit out of her element, and I think if HYBE wanted to follow trends, they could literally just continue the I-ONE sound and they would have equal chances chances of success, but if they do go the pop punk route, maybe Sakura will surprise me, who knows. So as I mentioned before, those were all of my thoughts that I had before the Sakura teaser came out yesterday, and after hearing the audio for the Sakura teaser, I think it might be possible that they're going for more of a club kid route, with the sound similar to that of maybe Moonwalker by 17. And considering that's literally one of my all-time favorite 17 songs, and just songs in general, I really hope that they do this. Like seriously, if they do end up going this route, I would be so hyped. This would be like my favorite hype group of all time. Anyways, that's enough for this section, and let's move on to the next one. Lore based around angels, and I mean heavy on the lore, at least for the first two comebacks. Like, they're gonna be having webtoons, games, and whatever the hell HYBE is doing. I really have no doubts about this one becoming true, considering that TXT and Hyphen and BTS all have lore, and Lesserafim is a very big project for the company. I would be completely blindsided if Lesserafim didn't have a boatload of lore that you could only learn every detail about if you paid for a lot of bonus merchandise. I think one of the biggest end goals for HYBE's marketing strategies is building a very large fan base for all of their groups, and a huge amount of lore and a confusing storyline are things that become much more satisfying when you become an actual stan of these groups. These large-scale projects that HYBE groups do don't necessarily bring them a large amount of profit initially, but they undeniably increase the amount of devotion that these fandoms have for their groups, and in turn boost their album sales and streaming prowess. HYBE want people to become attached to their groups, and these lore projects are one of the main reasons that they're so successful at doing this. Casual listeners will frankly never check out these extra videos, read their webtoons, or play their games or anything like that, but for people who are interested in standing these groups, that's like the first thing that they go to. And this lore, this extra content, and the extra opportunities make fans more likely to buy the album when it comes out. HYBE has done this with BTS, TXT, and Hyphen, so I'm expecting them to do the same thing with Lesserafim, and all of these factors combined with the fact that they're a HYBE group means that Lesserafim is going to have one of the biggest fan bases of the 4th gen. I definitely think that HYBE will pull an IVE and have Sakura and Chaewon do all of the variety shows, etc. It's kinda obvious because of the way HYBE has been hyping up them joining their company, so it's kinda given. I agree with this to an extent, and I absolutely see the similarities with IVE, where Yujin and Wonyoung started out and are still the most popular members of the group. I think Lesserafim will be a very similar case where Chaewon and Sakura are going to be the most well-known members to the public, and it will probably stay that way for the group's entire career. Sakura and Chaewon are absolutely going to make some solo and duo appearances on shows such as Running Man or Knowing Bros, and it's also highly speculated that Sakura is going to be the center of the group, so most of the attention is probably going to be on those two girls. However, I don't think the gap in popularity between those two and the other 4 members is going to be as big, and Yujin had the most people talking about them and they had the most traction on social media, but the other girls also had their semi-viral moments. Just off the top of my head, I remember that one stage that went absolutely viral where Liso had her odd eye moment that was super zoomed into the camera, and one of the members, her name is Ray, had her cover of Jennie's Solo that people are still talking about today. And what I think a lot of people don't understand is that while yes, Sakura and Chaewon are going to have a lot more solo opportunities, with a group of 6 members being pretty small, all of the others are going to have their time to shine in full group activities too. Even though I stan IVE, I never had to go out of my way to learn the members' names, I just learned them naturally through like scrolling on Twitter and YouTube and stuff, and there's no way the exact same thing isn't going to happen with the other 4 members of Lesserafim, where people are just going to end up knowing all of their names anyways. I think after maybe just a few months or at most a year, the other members are going to gain enough popularity where they're going to be able to make their own solo appearances, and I think after just 1 or maybe 2 comebacks, the gap in popularity is not going to be that daunting. It's gonna be mid. To be frank, yeah, I agree. At the end of the day, it all does just boil down to personal preference, and honestly, in the past couple of years, HYBE hasn't put out much that I've ever been obsessed with. Even 17, who are one of my all-time favorite boy groups, have had releases in the past couple of years that have been sort of subpar when you compare it to their stuff before HYBE acquired Playlists, and because I'm not the biggest fan of any of their other groups either, I just don't have that much anticipation for this debut. I think like usual, a lot of people are gonna like it, and like usual, I'm probably gonna be in the minority of people who don't, and it'll end up being one of the debuts that I think about the least when it comes to the end of the year. I hope I'm wrong, I hope they release something that I'm gonna be absolutely obsessed with and is right up my alley, but I don't see that happening, and I don't have much else to say in that regard. So for this last prediction, I actually asked one of my friends, Teriyaki Kamikaze, who has his own channel, to share his thoughts on this prediction, and I'm gonna let him share his own thoughts on how he thinks Lesserafim is gonna do on the domestic charts, as well as how they're gonna compare to the other leading 4th gen girl groups. His channel is gonna be linked in the description below, and without further ado, let's get into this final prediction.
Hey, this is Terry, and the next prediction of the video is that Lesserafim's debut will top the charts and be the best performing girl group's debut in the 4th generation. This is a pretty bold prediction, but I'm pretty confident this is gonna happen. On top of the popularity of the former I.O.I members, Lesserafim also has the backing of hype labels. At this point, debuting from hype labels is just as impactful as debuting from the big 3. Just think about what happened with Promise9. Promise9's association with HYBE basically saved them from disbandment. HYBE has that kind of power now. Compared to other 4th gen debuts, I'm certain Lesserafim will outperform. I would say IVE had the best debut so far with 13 music show wins and 350,000 sales. Of course, Wonyoung and Eugen's popularity helped with the debut, but a lot of the reason why it did so well was how good the song was. The thing about Lesserafim is that they don't even need a good song. They have that much more hype going into it. I don't think HYBE makes the best music out there, but I trust them in making a song that appeals to the general public. Unless a digital monster like IU or Blackpink come back during the same time, Lesserafim will top the charts. So their debut is likely gonna do really well, but the real question is how popular the group is gonna be in the long term. Right now, the top girl groups are definitely Aespa, ITZY, IVE, I-dle, and STAYC. Aespa has a clear lead over the others as the most popular group, but I think Lesserafim will compete with them for that position. Sakura's international popularity should not be underestimated. I'd say she's one of the most popular idols internationally, especially in China, the US, and obviously Japan. The power that Sakura holds is beyond imagination. Domestically is where Chaewon's popularity will have the most impact. She was one of the most popular members from I.O.I in Korea. I still think Aespa will have an edge against them in Korea, but Lesserafim will be far more popular internationally. Lesserafim is gonna have a successful debut and career that I'm really excited for.
And that concludes this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. I'm not sure how popular or unpopular my predictions are, so if you have your own, feel free to share them in the comment section below. And versus just your predictions, let me know what you want Lesserafim to do with their debut. Once again, thank you all so much for watching, and thank you Teriyaki Kamikaze for helping me with this video. If you liked, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to me and Terry. And without further ado, I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you all again so much for watching.